Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, and welcome to Communicate with Power. This is a couple of days after Christmas, and I'm joined by my partner and co-host of the Communicate with Power podcast and the company that brings you all this, TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants, Laura Peck. Hi, Laura.
Hi, and hope that everyone had a nice break. And we still like receiving emails. I just got one from some friends and colleagues in Washington, and they had a wonderful, so far, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. And
Well, they're not the ones that are in Mar-a-Lago right now.
no,
No, no. Yeah. Well, we won't get too political too early here.
I won't
Yeah.
say their names. Maybe next time
Yeah.
maybe they want me to. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here we are at the end of 2026. We're not going to do a formal how was the year. I think we're so fed up with 2025. I'm already pretending it didn't happen, but it was, I don't know. It wasn't one of the best ones for the year. That's
You
my
know
view.
what it's known as the year of the snake,
Yeah.
and 2026
Yeah.
is known as the year of the horse. So
Ooh,
of course
your
for
favorite.
me that's all positive because
Yeah.
I'm from a horse family.
Yeah.
Everybody in my family is in the horse business, and
Yeah.
we love horses. You do too, so
Well, I
it's
do.
all good.
I do, but I'm not sure they love me. You know what I'm saying?
They do, yeah. That would those when you used to jog the horses, I could tell they really liked you.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, look, here we are. Maybe just a little bit of a forecast as opposed to what's gone. Everybody has talked about 2025 and all the horrors of it and everything else. And it wasn't a great year on many, many fronts. However, we've all survived it, those of us on this podcast at least, and we're looking forward to to the year of the horse, 2026. And Laura, on the big scale, the big stage globally, what are you actually looking forward to in a nutshell?
Well, I've had such a change in myself. We had a great year doing both in person and virtual training. And I have to say that for me professionally, uh, liking doing the virtual training as much as in person was a great revelation to me because I had missed that daily encounter. I'm a people person. And I must say that the feedback that we got from clients who would say it was next level, they would say things like they really appreciate it. We had one client who wanted to start at 7:30 in the morning, and he
Yeah.
would always say that's when he's the most in the learning mode. And he travels a lot for his work. He's vice president of a very large company, whereas the president of his company, she wanted it all done in person.
Yeah.
So it took a day of travel to get there. Then we would train her, and then another
Yeah.
day to get back. And we did that several times over. So my point is that I feel so great that we actually are thriving in the virtual teaching world.
Now, I was going to talk about a similar subject, Zelensky and Ukraine. Let me just say a couple of words. Well, as we speak here, President Zelensky has just met with Prime Minister Carney in Halifax, and they had a virtual call with European leaders. And here we are now on the day that President Zelensky has flown to Mar-a-Lago in Florida to meet with President Trump and his cabinet. And in spite of everybody's, somewhat negative, somewhat cynical views of the whole thing. In the end, we all want peace. In the end, we want a just peace. It's not peace at any price, not peace at any cost. I've, I've, uh, I've actually previously posted on that because that's not true peace. It'll all come back. It has to be done as fair as one can be, even though Ukraine was invaded and Putin would like to take the whole place. So we hope that a reasonable, fair compromise settlement comes out of this and a page can be turned and peace can return on a just basis. That's certainly what I would like to see because it's been on, was that 4 years now, I think. It's gone on. Same with the Gaza Israeli peace accord has at least tentatively, but it seems to be holding. So the real issue there is to give a chance for the recovery of Gaza, to give a chance for a new government to be put together and then to face the electorate, a new Palestinian government, it would be great to start to put into place foundations for peace and a reasonable life for so many innocent people in the Middle East. So it would be wonderful to see that. Those are my two big wishes
Well,
for
but it
2026.
does tie in because you and I've worked in Kiev in person. And
Mhm.
so I think we feel even more because having worked there, we trained judges there. And I used to think, and I even had this conversation because the president, Prime Minister Carney, we used to joke with one another that we were so tired of this virtual world, constantly
Yeah.
talking to people online. We had
Yeah.
that conversation, but now I can honestly say he likes the virtual world, and so do I. And so that has been a great revelation for all of us.
Yeah, so we all have our fingers crossed, and we all hope that we can
Oh
have
yes.
a better 2026
Oh
on every
yeah.
level. Of course, in our communities here in Canada, of course, and the United States, where we're covered in this podcast, and we do hope for some form of sanity and peace, and moving forward on a positive basis economically as well. Okay, so that's probably enough of that. No real reveal in there, other than it's a hope and a wish and a dream all packaged together. And so that's sort of how we'll start off, I hope, in 2026.
And
I want to
remember,
turn,
horses like to get on the racetrack and go forward. They
well, maybe your horses. I've had a few that I think went in the wrong direction, paid a fortune for that. No. Uh, anyway, we'll leave that aside. So, Laura, I wanted to pull up something that you have mentioned, and so I'm going to pull this up if I can. That is our a very new thing that we're running in 2026, and that is our Communicate with Power 2026 series of leadership skills seminars, and we're really looking forward to it. We've never actually done it this way before, where in effect these would be called public seminars in that sense. And I just took it away. Thank you very much.
yeah.
And okay, see if I
So
can get
in
it back.
January, we
Yeah,
will jump right back into
yeah,
our what we would call in-house training,
yeah,
meaning the only people in those trainings will be people from that
yeah,
organization.
yeah.
And by the way,
Good.
some of those are, we go to their boardroom. Some of their people will be brought in virtually, but that's the difference.
Yeah,
These are seminars starting in February
yeah.
11th in the advanced parliamentary committee appearances.
Okay,
And
let's start with
so,
that. Okay.
Barry, let's when you decided or we decided advanced parliamentary committee appearances, what do you mean by that? Who should take that course?
Well, I'm calling them advanced because we had already done an original. We do a lot of these through the Canada School of Public Service here in Canada. And we also do them directly ourselves with clients in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. These are really, by definition, small group seminars, which provide an opportunity to learn what are the key do's and don'ts, the key preparation steps for if you're called before a parliamentary committee. And a lot is writing on these. So we want to talk about what are the practices and protocols for a proper and effective appearance before parliamentary committees. And we say parliamentary, we should be clear, especially with the reformed Senate, that they're both House and Senate committees. Each of them have their own different kind of protocols, but a lot rides on them. We're still technically a minority government here in Canada by one seat. It's still a minority, which has an impact actually. If you were to do a roll call vote of a committee on an issue, those in opposition would still, on most of those, have a very slight majority. So that can kind of be a little restrictive for governments of the day, in this case, the Liberal government. But nevertheless, it also can make a difference in how it transpires. So, how you deliver, meaning that how do you deliver an opening statement effectively? What would you put into it? What would you leave out of it? We've had a client that put in every conceivable negative and decided to use the opening statement to rebut each of these. Well, of course, all they did was give the parliamentarians, oh, more ammo for the attacks. So I said, look, what have you accomplished so far? Tell us what you've done and tell us why you need more or why Parliament should continue to support you. That really would be the essence of an opening statement. And so, how do you even deliver that? So you don't, watch me read this opening statement is one of the most boring things you can do. So, how do you deliver that effectively? Speaking from the head, yes, and the mouth, of course, but also from the heart. Are you feeling your words or just reading them out? And I think that isn't you setting the stage properly. And then in terms of delivery, well, how do you respond to questions? You only have about 30 or 40 seconds to answer a question from a member of parliament, sometimes much less. Like they have 5 or 6 minutes each to ask their questions. They don't want you eating their clock up with these long, wordy answers. So usually the rule is if it's a short question, you give a short answer. And don't try to hold the fort by, extra lengthy, boring answers. Some people think that's a good strategy. It is not. You're just annoying the committee and you look and sound evasive. Answer the question. So I always say,
Yeah,
look, if
because
you want
I
to get your,
always, I
sure,
do
go ahead.
ask senators and members of parliament, how do you like to receive the message? And when I used to, I've even asked politicians in the US in person, how do you like to receive the message? And by the way, they almost 100% say they want people to come in person, by the way. So here we are doing this virtually, but
Yeah.
I have to truthfully say they want for if you have to appear before Senate or before House of Commons, if you are in the Ottawa area, Ottawa Gatineau, they do expect for you to come in. And I know some people have got so used to the virtual world, even if they're in, the glebe, they want to do it
Yeah.
virtually. But the first thing they'll tell me 100% of the time, please tell them to come in and we want to see them in person
Well, of
because
course,
some of these new MPs have never even met a public servant.
yeah.
And
But
so because it's so controversial about the work from home,
yeah.
they really want you to show up in person.
Well, with one huge exception, and that is they understand if you're in Vancouver or
Of
Calgary
course.
or Halifax, flying in just to do that one appearance. No, they fully understand that can be done
Yeah.
virtually. And there is that rule that does allow that without any accusation or allegation against you. So I just want to make that point. Yes, everybody wants you in person, but there will be many, many times when that won't be possible. So we actually talk about how to do that. So how do you respond to questions? Meaning, we all say, look, if you walk into a committee and not even know what your key messages are, then you're not really prepared. Right? A lot of them just go in to react to questions. So like somebody might say to you afterwards, well, why did you say that? Well, they asked me. Well, why didn't you bring up this? Well, they didn't ask me. See, that's a totally passive orientation, which I'm sorry would be usually a big failure on your part. You know, you do have the license to get your messages across if you respond to the questions. If you
As
don't
well as
respond,
if you
if you
are
don't respond to them, don't
delivering the
expect it.
message, if you are delivering the message, sometimes every word is written by somebody who has never appeared before parliamentary committee.
Yeah.
So the second thing they say is that make sure that they practice out loud what they're coming in to say,
Yeah.
because if they come in saying everything word for word, it just doesn't sound like a real human being.
Yeah. So in these seminars, we do, of course, what are the techniques and approaches. There'll also be material to support that you'll receive, but also you'll have a chance to do a simulation. So if you come in, we'll give you advance questionnaire that will help you shape a brief opening statement and then to be able to respond to questions that we would ask. And so you're going to simulate a committee. We ask some other members in the group, do you want to play a member of parliament or a senator in this committee simulation? They love doing that. And we want to give you a feel for what it would be like. We believe in, and we can record that if you'd like and send just to you your recording. And we try to give very constructive feedback so that we make sure that you don't walk out of there feeling diminished by the whole experience. So I don't mind saying we get a lot of really positive feedback on the seminars, the numerous seminars we've done in this area, and we'd very much welcome people to come. It's February 11th, and it's January let me just pull that right up here. I'll just show you what this actually looks like. So, that this actually would have a January 16th early registration deadline. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. They are $350, but there's a $75 discount for early registration. So we'd love to see you there. These are normally pretty expensive seminars for a group, but as an individual, you're getting a very good price here. So we hope that you'll find that useful. I should mention that with the six different seminars we're running in this whole series, if you complete four of them, we are giving you a certificate of achievement, certificate of leadership communications excellence. And so we're going to give you that. You'll have earned, I should say, that certificate if you complete four out of the six seminars. So we want to make sure that you do feel that this was a valuable, worthwhile experience. All right. So
So
that's the first one in the series. Yeah.
yeah.
The
So
second one is get your message across in an age of uncertainty. And we tested this out last year. We had actually we did it at Cape through we did it actually it was a hybrid course, both in person as well as attending virtually. And within 2 weeks of posting it, 118 people registered, and eventually it was 83 that attended it live, and the rest attended through the recording afterwards. So we get a lot of reaction to it. You know, we live in a world of uncertainty, of anxiety, of misinformation, disinformation, all kinds of things that go on, make it confusing, chaotic, over saturation in social media, and your message never gets through. So, what are the strategies, tactics, and yes, skills to get your message across, whether it's going to be, in social media, whether it's going to be in mainstream media, whether it's going to be in person in a town hall group, etc., so that you, in a meeting, so that you can indeed get your message across. How do you debunk false information and still get your message out? There are many different techniques in this, and we got a I don't mind saying a great reaction when we tested that out last year, and so we've decided we're going to run a series of these, and this is February 19th, similar price structure, and it is if I could just pull that up, you'll see here that is the February 19th delivery, and we are saying to you that this seminar, we don't know the numbers at the beginning that will show up, but these are not going to be huge groups. January 23rd is the early registration deadline, and we'd love to see you do it. By the way, I should have mentioned on that certificate of achievement, if you do four seminars, the fourth seminar is a $100 discount on that fourth seminar. So again, we're looking for ways to try to make it more cost effective for you and your organization. So if you have, if they're looking to help you build your skill sets in your organization, this is ideal not just for communications people, but for managers, executives, officials, people that have to contribute to the communications in an organization, whether all the way from frontline, supervisory, all the way up to the C-suite. You're all welcome, and we'd very much like to see you there. So that is the second seminar in that series, and we'd like to see you, if you could, participate there. All right. Now let's just see what else we have here. Yeah. So the third one is encountering the media and social media. You talk about media today. If you're just talking about mainstream media, I think you're missing the boat. More and more of it is digital online media. More and more of it is what's in the social media platforms, and your ability to both master it as well as your ability to communicate in it. Whether you do interviews for podcasts, whether you do interviews in mainstream media, this is an opportunity. We do simulated interviews. We also do simulated ones and different kinds of exercises in the getting your message across one in an age of uncertainty. We do all of them have practical exercises. So these are media simulations, social
and
media simulations
as
as
we
well.
say in Cape Breton, we know that you got to meet us. We're going to meet you where you're at, because for some groups, they only deal with social media. They only deal with digital media. And then there are other people who still see the relevancy in working and interacting with mainstream media. And no matter how you slice it or dice it, television and radio still have very large audiences. Not like it was
Okay.
years ago, but they certainly do have big audiences. And so many people, even today, really measure the strength of the amount of media attention they have if they get recognized or interviewed in mainstream media. However, there are some groups that they're only involved in social media,
Yeah,
digital media, and they really care about podcasting
right.
because they have a longer time to express themselves. So they're like us, they're on Substack podcasting because you have a longer time to explain things. Or some people will not deal with X at all. So we're not there to encourage them to necessarily go in one direction or the other. There are some people who are selling a lot of product on TikTok or on Instagram. So essentially, we're going to help you to get your message out on whatever platform you see is the best way to get your message out. But don't forget your audience. You have to think of who's your audience. And if you are, talking about public policy, you really have to hit people on all levels. So if you look at some of the crises that we have dealt with in years, sometimes they only put out a warning on Twitter. Well, guess what? In that particular area, very few people were on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. So we encourage people to look at where are people getting their messages about public policy, and you have to be ready to get a message out in that particular platform.
I like the Cape Breton expression. You got to go where people are at.
Yeah.
So dangling participles, whatever, are allowed. So I was going to, or is that a preposition? I'm sorry, that was a preposition. Yeah. So of course that's true, and you do have to have that flexibility. I should mention that the early bird deadline on that March 4th media seminar is actually February 6th. So again, keep that in your information. Go online and click on it. We hope I have this listed here. By the way, our store is called communicatewithpower.store. You can write that down. Communicatewithpower.store is where we have all our information on these seminars, and we are running them as well on different social media platforms. But if you really want to directly check it out and see the information, you're not committed to anything, but I think taking a look at it, hopefully you'll find one that suits you. On March 12th, we're running one called Effective Presentations, Briefings, and Pitches. Now, this is very interesting. We of course do presentation skills. We've done that for many years, but we started doing more and more on how to pitch your idea, pitch it to senior management, to the senior executive committee. You only have sometimes 1, 2, or 3 minutes, and you've got to be able to hit the mark on what is the problem that you're solving? What is your solution in a nutshell? Are there any decisions what are the key decisions that you would like this committee or group to make? What are the benefits of taking this approach? But they always say, you've got to sell the problem before you sell the solution. And I've watched pitches, and Laura, you have too, of course, over the years, where, especially in the technology world, where they're selling complicated technological solutions, and you don't even really know what problem is it solving. So to me, it has to follow that kind of logic flow to make this work. If there isn't a problem you're solving, then I'm sorry, they're not interested in that solution. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. But also briefings, you have to brief them on a situation update. So I'm finding that certainly in government, this has become a critically important thing to be able to do. Tell us the situation, what has led to any causal factors that we should be aware of here. What are the outcomes, implications of this problem, and what are you recommending we do about it? It sounds easy, sounds logical, but I've seen way too many that go way off base. They get into detail they shouldn't be getting into, and on and on. And of course, how do you respond to questions from audiences of all kinds is underpinning this seminar. And we actually asked you to come with a prepared presentation of some kind, and we will give you constructive feedback. You'll get a chance to present that in the course, and we'll give you very constructive feedback after. Laura.
And also, I got a lot of feedback from people that we had trained through the pandemic, and I still get this. What they appreciate is that we stress storytelling. And so sometimes people who have they know their technology, or they know engineering really well. However, in order to sell it, you got to have a story to tell, and that's something we've always encouraged. The other thing is that you got to have a personality even on screen. And so sometimes people will say, I can't convince or persuade my bosses of anything. Well,
Yeah.
if you look at the way that they come across, or the way their voices sound, or something like that, that contributes to a lack of credibility with people who know that they've got to make a hard decision. So we can help you with that also.
One quick thought on that, Laura, was an example. I was asked to years ago do a presentation to cabinet on why this particular initiative of the government's had so failed in public opinion. And of course, there was polling, but they didn't want the polling kind of things. They wanted to know
Yeah.
what did we really do that we shouldn't have been doing, et cetera. So I did come up with what I felt were the five key principles of effectively uh, communicating a major initiative of this nature. And I'll tell you, I don't mind saying afterwards, I was very glad I did that because I could have just gone in there and criticized every aspect of that policy. I think I would have, you know, been a fool to have done it because I think I would have blown up in front of them. They would have absolutely, you're kind of half insulting them as you tell them the nature of their failures. So I did in terms of what are the principles of communications that are so important. And if it's, for example, what is the problem that it's solving is certainly one, and that was never quite clear on this policy. Keep the solution simple. Was it a simple policy solution? No, it was not. It was the most complicated. You had to hire an accountant to work with you on this. It was so complex. It sounded far worse than the problem it was supposed to solve. So I did have to kind of couch it, but I did base it on principles. So my point of that is, what is your strategy for your presentation, for your briefing, for your pitch? You should have a strategy. So there's a rule of politics that applies here. Any strategy beats no strategy. So that, of course, is on, as it says here, on March 12th. And then on April the 8th, we move to leadership in times of risk. We are in a world of risk communications, issues that affect life, that threaten life, health, safety, and or the environment. We have a ton of those. Right now, we have the record number of diseases that we didn't have before. So whether they're whooping coughs or flu,
Measles.
measles is a very good example. Wow. And how do you communicate a coherent message when people have developed an attitude about vaccines? They seem to know more. They resent it, resist it, or they're told through social media, which of course is the source of all expertise, that, I'm following that. Thanks very much. Well, how do you overcome that strategically, tactically, the wording of that, as well as your way to engage people? If you were to engage a town hall community on a major development in the community, that's a classic risk issue. Right now, we got one developing over time in Ottawa where they want a very, very the city bought a very large plot of land that is zoned for waste disposal. Well, you can imagine when you get to the stage of engagement of communities on such an issue, how do you engage that in a constructive way? It could blow up in your face and you lose control of the whole thing. How do you do that effectively? And that's part of risk communications. And that is on April 8th. And the final one of the series of six is leadership in times of crisis. Well, that's coming up on April 15th. And of course, there are so many crises going on. It does affect a crisis really. It's something that happens, could be an event, it could even be an allegation. There's a good point. It doesn't even have to be true. We've been called into situations where it's clearly a crisis of credibility of the organization and or its leadership. And I remember this happened a number of times. The CEO says, "We don't have a crisis." Oh, why do you say that? Because it's not even true. Ah, the old way of thinking was it has to be true in order to be a crisis. As some wise, I always turn to the lawyer in the room. Usually there's a lawyer there and say, how long will this case be before it ever gets to court? About 2 years. Okay, so for the next 2 years, you're being shellacked, hammered, alleged. Your stock price and everything's going to plummet, and waiting for your proverbial day in court. Well, I'm sorry, but in the world we're in today, you'll never get anywhere near there. You will have so damaged the company because you didn't have a proper strategy for getting in the driver's seat of this crisis. So that is very much what this course is. How do you get into the driver's seat of an emerging crisis? Hopefully, you can get in early enough to really make a difference early on. Sometimes they kind of wait, they dodge, they drag it out, and eventually you're brought in. But already a lot of damage has been done. You don't want to have to get in there just to do damage control. Your goal there is to get in there and end it. So many times I've had clients say, how long is this going to take you? We should put you on a contract for several weeks or months. I said, well, actually, I'm hoping we end this by the end of business today. That if we do our job right, we can really get a hold of this, make the key decision, make the announcement, make a major turning point in this crisis to
Yeah,
get
we
into the
say,
driver's
what
seat.
would you rather have, a bad day or a bad year?
Yeah.
And there are some people that would rather have a bad year
Yeah.
because they just cannot that day or within a short period of time admit or do the things that they have to do. So they drag it on for a really long time.
Sure. I
And
mean,
because we've been at this for so long, we can sort of look back in retrospect what happened. Did people keep their job? Did they keep their livelihood? Did they keep their marriage? Did they keep going in a certain direction?
all of the
And we can
above.
get feedback
Yeah.
from them also, whether or not it actually worked.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that say, at that particular time, I just couldn't make the change or whatever. I didn't want to make the
Yeah.
change.
That's
And
key.
instead, I spent years languishing in hell over something that had happened. So we don't take these things lightly. It's just
No.
because we really care about people. And there are some people that it goes on for a really long time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we do naturally have a lot of empathy for people. This is the most. I remember turning to one guy, particular gentleman, who was in a huge crisis right away, and I said to him, I said, I know this is probably the worst day of your life. He said, Yep. And I said, by taking the decision today to take the necessary steps, if you do that, I firmly believe every day will be a better day. And he came up to me 6 months later and he said, I still remember, I held on to that thought. He said, that kept me going because it turned out to be absolutely true. Not that I'm any miracle worker, it's that I was asking him to take some painful but necessary steps to turn this around, to end this crisis. And yeah, we're all experts, except you're not sitting in that guy's seat or that woman's seat. It's not you, your reputation that you've spent a lifetime building. It's not you that your family is looking to you as this wonderful human being that couldn't possibly have made a decision or made an action like that. And so I think a lot of empathy is very, very important in this situation. I always say I want the client to 100% own the decision. Too many people in our business try to push and push and push them into a solution. Wrong. That it's that person's life, that person's company very often that they started. So we're going to start with that person. Okay. And I've had to take them one on one aside. Let's have a real honest conversation here. And very often they will make the right decision. I ain't pushing them. Yes, I do help them draft it because it's very hard when it's your emotions are all caught up in this. Your life, you see your life light going out in front of you. It's just a horrible, horrible feeling. But to help them put words on it and make sure that that's the words that they would want to say in this situation, I think that's extremely important. And especially in the world we live in today, which is complex. If it's government, there's several government departments, several levels of government, corporations that have partners, supply chain, and others, as well as customers. They're balancing all of these things as they make their decisions. So I think that, I don't judge a client. Laura, you certainly don't. We do try to be there as partners in this to help them solve their crisis. And that's where we're going to run through that. And we do have a simulation for you in that one also. That's April 15th, the sixth and final one in the series. As we say, there's a certificate if you sign up for four of them and complete four of them. And We discount $100 off that fourth one to give you an incentive to keep doing that. And there's $75 off each of these seminars, the $350 seminars, a $75 discount if you do early registration on them. So we try to keep them affordable. We try to keep them small groups so that you really do get personal input and feedback. And it's all very confidential within the group. And we want to make sure that even though, as Laura started the entire session here by talking about virtual, even though this is virtual, we do not want that to be a barrier of any kind. You can be anywhere and take these courses. So we're hoping that, whether you're in a nice place somewhere south or whatever, a nice warm climate, love to have you on board for the 3-hour session that we're going to run. So we look forward to it. Take a look at these on communicatewithpower.store. And if you have any questions, you can email me personally at mclomedia, that's MCLO Media, at msn.com, MCLO Media at msn.com. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Well,
We
I think that's
also
it
have
for.
that. We also have that on our LinkedIn. Of course,
Oh, yeah.
I'm Laura Peck, but maybe this is not for you, but go ahead, give it a like, maybe a share. There might be somebody else out there in your world that would like to take a course like that.
Yeah,
And so that's a good thing too.
absolutely. Thank you, Laura. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Here's to a great 2026 for you and your families. And we hope to see you at least once a week on our podcast. That's Communicate with Power. We'd love to have you, we'd love you to follow us, be a regular subscriber to our Substack and podcast, and very much would enjoy hearing any questions that you have, any topics you want us to cover. We're always happy to address those. So thanks, everybody. Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year, everybody.